Go for liftoff in T-minus 30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at will.
Hello, Christine.
Hello.
Welcome, everyone, to Navigating the Northwoods, Episode 2. Where do we go from here? And thank God it's over, right?
Yeah. Man. I mean, for some people, it's just like been the last couple of weeks, but it's been 5 months for me. So
I was waiting for this day for 2 years. So,
oh, wow.
And-
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I kind of was too, I guess, but
yeah, it was not pretty.
no.
No. Did we have a red wave?
No. I actually, I don't know if I came up with this. I doubt it, but I call it the red ripple.
Does it even qualify as a ripple?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
It really in Minnesota,
area.
like if we're dealing with all of Minnesota, does it really qualify as a red ripple? I mean, let's be honest, right? Out of the gate, ladies and gentlemen, I did a video last week and I told you there would be no red wave, and I told you that Jensen was going to lose to Walls, and Christine's aware because I shared some of it with her. I got a lot of hate. I had people blaming me ahead of time. If Walls wins, it's your fault. I'm like, okay, how? So, but we didn't take, as you said in the videos that you sent me earlier. And if you guys haven't found Christine, you can find her on Facebook. You can find our page for Navigating the Northwoods on Facebook under, strangely enough, Navigating the Northwoods. And she put up some videos today talking about it, and I talked about it last week. I did a video this morning. We didn't know we were doing videos this morning, so we
didn't plan that ahead of time.
Not at all. Honestly, we didn't, I swear.
No, no, the only video we planned was this one, so the stream.
And I told people it wasn't going to happen. And I think for me, dealing with reasonable Minnesotans and reasonable people across the country, Minnesota had no shot of the red wave in the way that everybody was talking about it. I mean, I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming to fruition. I don't know, Christine, did you see it differently?
I think at the constitutional office level, probably not, but or at least I felt like it was a long shot. But I think more at the local level, I felt like there was going to be I was genuinely shocked at some of the results. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, I would say that I think it was a long shot, and partly because of I think that the Supreme Court's overturning of Roe v. Wade was a death nail in the campaign of every Republican, because despite the Republican Party of Minnesota's efforts to not make it an issue as far as voting, it was an issue.
I agree with you that it was an issue, but I don't think that the Supreme SCOTUS ruling on Roe v. Wade and what was the other one they had included with that?
Well, I think it was Roe v. Wade was overturned, but it was there was a different name for the case.
Right.
Started with a D. I can't remember though.
Yeah. Doesn't it always start with a D?
Yeah.
the I do not believe that it played as much of an issue in Minnesota's election as a lot of people. And this is just me pushing back on you, there, partner. Um, I think it gives the Republicans a pass for poor performance.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you that they performed poorly because I think that they did, but I think that Scott Jensen in particular, because I mean, if you look at the constitutional offices, meaning the governor, the lieutenant governor, auditor, state auditor, attorney general, and the secretary of state, those 4 positions or 5 positions, I think that Jensen lost votes on both sides of the aisle because of the Roe v. Wade issue, because people who are more left leaning are assuming that because he's a Republican, he's on this crusade to ban abortion. And then people who are right leaning assume that and or think that okay, he's 100% pro life, so he feels the same way I do or any voter does, and that he's going to try to get rid of abortion. And then he kind of is like, well, I can't do that constitutionally. I can't. It's a protected right in the state of Minnesota, so I can't do it. So I think he lost voters on that side too, because he couldn't take a strong position one way or the other. He was almost trying to campaign that way. But I mean, today, if you want to win a voter over, you have to be forthright and honest.
You can win over people who disagree with you just by being bold.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They gain a lot of respect for people who are willing to speak their minds. And the walk away movement, especially within the LGBTQ alphabet collaboration, the walk away movement is explicitly a very great example of what happens when you're willing to be bold. And I have several friends that are openly gay or lesbian who walked away and joined the Republican Party because they met people who were willing to be bold. I personally lay much of the statewide defeat at the feet of Minnesota GOP leadership, to include Jensen and Burke, because I think they mounted a very poor strategy of attack when it comes to the inner city and the urban areas. I think they washed their hands of the urban areas, of the inner city. And as you know from some of our conversations and some of the other content I put out over the last several months, the inner city, especially the Black and Hispanic communities, were pleading with the Republicans to show some damn interest in them.
Yeah. In fact, one of my favorite streams of yours was when you had all those guys on from the metro area, all these politically involved guys, and you could hear it. They were so fed up with the leadership of their communities, and they were trying to make a difference, but they don't have they even said it, the infrastructure there to do so and to get into positions of leadership to make a difference. So yeah, I agree. And this message from especially the Jensen campaign, but then it filtered on down through, because whenever you're part of a party, I guess you all run on the same core 5 messages or whatever, however many they're going to choose. But this whole, we're going to just lock everybody up and throw away the key. I think they overestimate the number of, and I know we're probably on a little bit different sides of the fence on this because of your professional background, but I think that they overestimate.
I bet we don't. I bet we're not.
That are on this thin blue line kick. I mean, not that I'm not grateful for law enforcement, but
we're not on the opposite sides of this. I can't believe you even said that after my starting my series on defining a good cop. You were just trying to get me to promote my defining a good cop series. I said this last week in my drive time dialectic about Jensen, that the biggest mistake that he made, apart from And folks, if you're friends with Christine and you're watching because of her, like, comment, share, because the more you share, the more this is viewed. The more this is viewed, the more I can double Christine's paycheck this week. So
I'll get 2 shekels.
2, yes, you will get 2 shacks. But like, comment, and share. Let's get this. Let's make this the thing, because we really want to do something with navigating the Northwoods. But I said last week that apart from not campaigning heavily in the inner cities, the metro areas of the state, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Rochester, Duluth, St. Cloud, Mankato, these heavily densely populated urban areas that always swing blue in Minnesota. We also saw Jensen make the biggest mistake of his political career, in my opinion, standing on the platform of the Republican Party convention in Rochester, Minnesota, back in May, and promising that one of the first things he was going to do was commute Kim Potter's sentence. And when you are literally a lily white guy running with a lily white guy, talking to a bunch of lily white people, telling them you're going to commute the sentence of a lily white cop who killed a black man, and she killed him. It wasn't self-defense. He wasn't armed. And you tell people you're going to commute the sentence of a convicted criminal for nothing more than the fact, as you were saying, this back the blue thing. You are going to alienate a lot of people, and not just black folk, and not just Hispanic folk. You're going to alienate a lot of people who are saying, why does she get a pass?
Yeah. I mean, I have some sympathy for Kim Potter because she made a mistake. It wasn't intentional. You could tell that, I think, personally, by the reaction immediately after she realized what she had done. That being said, that even still, it's manslaughter, so she needs to serve the penalty for manslaughter.
And it's a conversation for a different show.
Yes, that's time. True, because I have TC on a strict schedule. Yes, but yeah, I agree. You can't alienate people. Like the crowd that he was speaking to, that probably resonated great. He probably got lots of hoorahs and yays and stuff.
Oh, it was staggering to hear. It actually hurt.
Yeah.
When I was in there and was recording, it hurt to hear the way he said that and the way people responded. It was such a disconnect.
I would like to think he was smart enough not to think that that's the fishbowl he was campaigning in, but I mean, maybe. I will say this. I read, and I haven't fact checked this, so, maybe somebody can, but I did read that more people voted in this election for the governor's position than have in a long time. And Tim Walz got less votes than he did in 2018. And so and he still won by a healthy margin. So if that isn't a wake-up call, like, the thing that's frustrating me is I'm listening to a lot of, it's 50-50. I'm listening to a lot of people talking on social media. Some of them are, prominent social media figures, and some of them are just everyday people that I know, and they're frustrated. And the people who are just everyday people are looking at, like, inwardly, like, what's going on, what happened, we've been had. And then the people who are more prominent social media people are like, oh, well, it's somebody else's fault.
How did we fare? I mean, we know, I guess we know, but I don't know if everybody else knows. Ashley did not win. She got just a little under 4%.
Mm-hmm. About average for a
Independent.
Independent candidate. Yep.
Tory. I guess if I have to be thankful for something, I guess I'm thankful that Tory won. I'm not. I mean,
I I don't know if I didn't know all the things I know about Tori Westrom at this point, I wouldn't probably agree with you, but
I'm trying to say it in a way to not.
I know.
I'm not trying to be, politically correct. I just don't know how. I'm glad the DFLer didn't win.
I don't think she would have done any more damage than Tori, honestly. I don't. Sorry. Tori doesn't do anything, and I don't think she would have gotten much done.
Touche. So Ashley did not win. She made a decent showing for first-time candidate, but she didn't win. Our friend Nate Wiesenberg, mutual friend, did win his seat.
He did.
As an outsider. And as you said, handily, yeah. Well,
for 70%.
Yeah, he did win his seat.
Nathan Miller didn't win his write-in but campaign. However, he pulled over 8% on a write-in campaign.
That's huge on a write-in.
Unheard
of. Unorganized write-in too,
yeah,
by the way.
Yeah.
No offense to our buddy Nate. I'm not saying that he's unorganized, but it wasn't a massive.
No, well, he did have a lot of good people help, like getting the word out. A lot of good people, but yeah, I mean, to have 8%. The only thing I would say, I wish he would have ran as an independent from the get-go, so his name would have been on the ballot because he might have won. But then again, he might have pulled the same or maybe not even as much as he did. It just blows me away that he got over 8% as a write-in. But it goes to show that area and how.
Well, Jordan needs to be, after our show last week, Jordan needs to be shaking in his boots.
Well,
excuse me, Jordan probably doesn't wear boots. Jordan needs to be shaking in his loafers. Pansy.
Travis Bull Johnson running for Congressional District 7 against Michelle Fishbach. He pulled about just a little bit more than 5%, so he got about 16,000 and a half votes. Somehow Jill Abasane got almost 85,000 votes, and I'm still scratching my head trying to figure that out because, I mean, the woman literally did not campaign at all.
So who won that race?
Michelle Fishbach, of course.
Liz Cheney of Minnesota.
What's that?
The Liz Cheney of Minnesota.
Liz Cheney of Minnesota.
Ladies and gentlemen, when we go to war, in the Ukraine, by the way, American troops are on the ground in the Ukraine right now, have been for a long time. I don't know who's been telling you this since February, that American troops are on the ground, but The Intercept has confirmed and reported this. But when we actually start putting the 101st and the 82nd and the 11th ACR in the Ukraine, Michelle Fishbach is going to be fully on board and gung-ho with slaughtering your children.
Oh, she went to Ukraine earlier this year, or maybe it was late last year, but yeah, she went to Ukraine. Yeah. And actually at the local BPOU meetings I went to, there was a couple people that were like, what's that about? I don't really like that. And of course the party comes back with, well, it's had something to do with farming. I guess there's a
Ukraine is Minnesota to Eastern Europe. I mean, they are a wheat production country. They produce a massive amount of wheat and other grains and whatnot. But let's just be honest. Michelle Fishbach is a war hawk. She is a neocon war hawk, and she votes however Liz Cheney and her daddy tells everyone else to vote. They love to murder your children. They do. Michelle Fishbach loves murdering your children in foreign conflicts. I don't care if she doesn't like it. I don't care. I don't give a good goddamn. I'm sorry. If everybody in Minnesota GOP is pissed off at me for this, But y'all did this. You all did this. All of you Kua Kook, QAnon following, Rhino loving, we got to vote red no matter what because we can't. You did this. And we're going to go to war because there's been no mandate. There is no mandate. I'm sorry. Anyway.
Well, and I wanted to.
This was the second and last episode of Navigating the Northwoods.
To be concluded. There was a couple of congressional level races that I just wanted to touch on. So Angie Craig maintained her seat. However, the margin was pretty small. And I do want to point out that Paula Overby, rest her soul, got over 10,000 votes. She passed, was it 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Right before I had Bull on the last time.
Yeah. So
you're going to get me all emotional.
I know, but she still got over 10,000 votes. So
Paula, and I only knew Paula as Paula, so if any of my detractors go, why are you calling Paula Paula? Because if people aren't aware, Paula was trans.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, having met Paula, we probably would have had some really fun conversations away from the Defend the Guard rally. And when I say fun, I mean that because I try to have those really hard conversations in an enjoyable way where both sides are engaged but not yelling at each other. And I think I could have done that with Paula if I would have had the opportunity. And what people do not understand is that Paula recognized a kindred spirit in many regards in Bull.
Yes.
And reached out to Bull and said, you deserve to run in this position. And Paula and Bull wouldn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues. But it said us a lot about Paula's character that she recognized that in Bull.
Mm-hmm.
And to the people of the 7th District, and I'll let Christine say her part here, the people of the 7th District, y'all screwed up. You vote red at all costs, people. Fishbach doesn't give a damn about you.
Or blue. I'm sorry. How did Jill Abasane get almost 85,000 votes because she had a D next to her name? I literally saw one yard sign that said Jill Abasane on it in this entire district, which is a pretty large district and a large chunk of CD7. And it happens to be the district that Jill Abasane lives in. And I'm pretty sure that sign was in her yard. Because she lives in Sauk Center. That's all I know. And that's where I saw it.
You just said. I saw one sign and it was in her yard. Her own
I
yard.
don't know if it was in her yard. I'm pretty sure that I just know that it was in Sauk Center. That's where I saw it. And that's where she lives. So it might have been her mom's. Who knows?
One of her kids.
Yeah. And then the last big race I wanted to talk about was Ilhan Omar. She won by 75%. So if someone wants to sit here and tell me that there isn't ballot harvesting going on there. Yeah.
Well, here I'm gonna say this, and we can set it up for the next show where we can have our bonfire debate over this. I'm sick and tired of hearing about election. What was that? Okay.
Integrity.
I'm sick and tired of hearing about elections being stolen.
Yeah, I am too. I mean, if we're not gonna do anything about it,
it's just
again, to be fair, I see a lot of individuals, just everyday people, trying to do something about it. I saw a ton of people, I'm not a technology guru at any cost, so I don't know how much validity there is to this, but I saw a lot of people doing screenshots of the Wi-Fi at their polling places and stuff like that, and I think that they were sending it to Eric, who at one point ran for Secretary of State or tried to primary, I believe. So there are individuals trying to do things, but there are no politicians really trying to do things. They run on this idea, but then when it comes to it, they just keep screaming voter ID, and then for some reason can never get it passed. We have to get a fancy driver's license to get on a plane starting next May, but we still don't have to show one to vote.
I guess for me, it's very easy for that crowd to step out and say, well, the only reason we didn't win is because they stole the election from us. No, it's because you did a crap job campaigning.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about every one of our friends, because I haven't had a chance to look up everyone. I don't know how Steven fared, and you sent me that link, and I have to register to open it. And
Oh, no, you don't.
yes, I do. It won't let me open it unless I register. So
That's weird.
you should be able to share it from your end.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Present. Okay. Let me do that.
Yeah, you do that. But what it comes down to, so like I know my friend, Walter Hudson. I know Walter campaigned hard. I know Stephen Lowell campaigned hard. I know Mark Bashofsky campaigned hard. I mean, you cannot name 3 people who campaigned harder than those 3.
So this side is the Senate, left side is the Senate, right side is the House. Let's find Bashofsky here.
All right, folks, you're just going to have to listen to our beautiful voices because I'm trying to make this.
I'm trying to remember. See, here's the thing. I'm terrible with remembering districts and the numbers.
Just look for names.
I know. And it takes so long to get. I passed him once. Oh, there he is, Bashofsky. So he got 46% of the vote. Now, I don't know much about his district as far as what the political demographics are. And so I don't know if that was previous.
So let's address that then. We know that Mark had an 80% endorsement when he campaigned and got the endorsement from the Republican Party in his district. Then Kurt Dowd turned on him. By the way, there's Kurt Dowd with a 73-27 win. Kurt Dowd turned on him, as well as Karn Housley turned on him.
Here too. She won the race.
And they turned on him and endorsed his challenger in the primary, which means he had no money to really spend running against the DFL candidate because he had to spend so much money to win the primary. And so what do you expect? So Stephen Lowell ran for Senate as well, and where is his name showing up there? And the GOP turned on Stephen over something stupid that had absolutely was not at all anything at all that you could even argue over as far as it being bad. He just said that it's better to vote, better to fight your fight in the ballot box than it is to fight it with bullets later on. What could possibly be wrong with that comment? And the GOP turned on him.
Oh yeah, here he is. 37-63.
Yeah. And
well, what really frustrates me about that is so I was chastised as recently as last night by somebody who's leadership role in the local Republican BPOU, because I was elected a delegate this year for caucus, and then I continued to defy the rest of the BPOU by helping Ashley run and speaking against Tori Westrom, and that I needed to reevaluate my behavior. But
reevaluate your behavior?
Yeah, I needed to reevaluate my behavior. So I told that person that, they can consider this my official resignation then. I was never told whenever I accepted the nomination to be a delegate that I had to pledge unending allegiance to anybody, but especially lying people like Tori Westrom. And I would assume
Jordan Rasmussen
or Jordan Rasmussen, but I would assume that
Kurt
once
Dowd.
the endorsing conventions have been completed, that my obligation there is over, because that is where I'm representing, is at the endorsing convention. So those were completed before I started helping Ashley. And as an aside to that, so Mary Franson, who is the Republican representative from District, I think it's 12B, she won handily, 70% to 30. And I believe this was her best year yet for number of votes. She is in a safe district. She's been in office for, I believe, 10 years now. She gave Kurt Dowd's HRCC PAC $15,000 this year. And for those of you who don't know, the HRCC PAC is the money is used exclusively to run hit pieces during primaries against candidates that the establishment doesn't like, regardless of whether or not they are endorsed.
Right, and we saw that, Stephen lost, Mark lost, Eric Mortensen lost.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm shocked by that.
I'm not shocked that Eric lost, because he has put a big target on himself.
That's true.
He has been a lone wolf, if you will, in that respect, and it's easier to take out a solo target than it is to. And he's made no bones about saying that the GOP has not supported him from pretty much day one.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also made no bones about the fact that he went in there to crack skulls. So there's a little bit to be said for him building a lot of that.
Well, for all of here's the thing about that, though. That perspective insinuates that then the Republican establishment is okay with the Democrat winning when it serves their interests. But
agree.
When it doesn't serve their interests, they'll go and run and tell all of the constituents in the voting public that if you don't vote for our candidates, even though this other candidate might be more conservative than our candidate and might share your values more than our candidate, you're going to split the vote and you're going to give it to a Democrat.
Yeah, I feel, I hate talking about my feels. I hate to feel this way, but I feel like this, as I said in my video this morning, this had to happen. Minnesota needed this. The conservative base, the Rocks and Cows base, has had 2 years since the last general election. We had 6 months leading up to the general election in 2020 to motivate, to inspire, and the best that we could offer by way of broad brushing inspiration was to harp on how much we hated Ilhan, and we all despise Ilhan. I mean, but 75% of her constituency loves her. And CC Davis was never a competitive candidate. CC Davis had no desire to win that race.
Well, the thing about CC Davis is, she's running in a area that is very observant Muslim, and she is not of the Muslim faith. She doesn't practice the modesty that most of the general public in that area practices, and Ilhan Omar does. And I think that that factors in majorly. So even though politically CC Davis was conservative, she didn't reflect the majority of the population that was in that area.
It's funny that you say that that Ilhan that she does practice that conservative version of that Islamic perspective.
Oh, no. I'm not saying she practices it. I'm saying she appears.
Okay. Because my friend AK, who is the Black Republican from Black Democrat, Black Republican, is Muslim, is an adherent to Islam, and he's a Republican, and he has pointed out numerous times that actual politically conservative-leaning Muslims can't stand Ilhan because of the way she flaunts herself.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. But she looks like it. She wears makeup, but she also wears a hijab.
But she also has a nose piercing and...
Yeah, that's true. But I don't think that that's super uncommon even in the Muslim world. I think that her extramarital relationships are probably an issue, but that doesn't get talked about a lot. So if people are just going based on her appearance, I think that's the major difference. And I think that would have been a hurdle for any female running in that particular area. If you don't appear to be more of the modest, strict Muslim type, then I think you're going to have a tough time as a female candidate. As a male candidate, there's not nearly as much physical appearance that goes into that. So, and
all of the men said, "Thank God." I'm glad I don't have to put any effort into it.
Right. But and so the other thing that really gets to me about and it was something that I can't speak to other districts, but I can speak to District 12 because I was helping someone run a campaign against the Republican candidate. Tori Western banged on about, we've got a 1-seat majority in the Senate, which at the time wasn't true, by the way. It was a 3.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
And that's not your fault.
No, you can't blame that on me or Ashley because she didn't win. Or Nathan Miller, yeah.
Or Nate Miller.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they gave up seats. I think they gave up seats in the House too. Well, I know Mort lost his.
Yeah. So I mean, and this is where we're at, and which I think is kind of where do we go from here? The where do we go from here aspect of this, and so folks. Once again, if you're not sure what the whole gist of navigating the Northwoods is that the last couple of shows have been a little bit more the show last week and then this show are focused a little bit more on the politics side. Going forward, we're going to be focusing, I wouldn't say not on politics, but focusing on legislation, focusing on code and statute, proposals within municipalities, counties, and at the state level, and even at the federal level if we get traction on that. But the reason why this conversation is so important and why we've titled this "Where Do We Go From Here" is because we have to look at what ultimately was communicated with the results of the election here in Minnesota. And as I said to Christine this morning, and she can back me up, I did say it in the text, the best thing that we could have hoped for was a deadlock. That we had the House and the Senate and we didn't have the governorship. And that we had a deadlock where the House and the Senate stood in the way of of Governor Walz. I told people, like I said last week, I said Walz is going to win, and I didn't even know it was going to be by the margin that he won by. I thought it'd be a lot closer, but I knew he was going to win. But I had this idea that we could have gridlock in St. Paul. We're not going to have gridlock in St. Paul, ladies and gentlemen. I got news for you. You're getting locked down sometime in the next 4 years.
Oh, yeah. And
because you all forgot what it was like.
Your children will be required to take the next fall. Which there is, for any of you who may not know, we still have, for the moment, conscientious objections in the state of Minnesota. So simply all you have to do is sign a piece of paper that says, I'm aware of the risks of not getting that, and I'm choosing not to.
That is the new official show reference for the jab.
But yeah, and then you just have to get it notarized and you file it with the school district. It's ridiculous that you even have to do that, but use it. Because and even
or
you have to do
better
it.
yet, pull your kids out of the government-run indoctrination center.
Even if you homeschool, you have to do it because you have to register your homeschool through the district.
Yeah, I got news for you. You do not. Okay. Kindergarten through senior high, all we had to do is tell them whether or not they were being educated, and up to a certain point, they had to take certain tests, but they cannot make your kid who is home educated get a jab.
No, they can't make your kid who is public school educated right now do that because we have the objections. But a lot of people don't know this.
Even if they strip that, they're not going to be able to force you to make your kid get the jab if you're home educating. There's no way they're going to win that fight.
Never say never. I thought there was no way that people were going to stay home for 2 weeks.
Well, they didn't. They stayed home for a lot longer than 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, fair.
I probably should have had one less adult beverage before we started it. You told me we had to keep it under.
Hey, we're at 42 minutes. We're doing good.
You told me we had to keep it between an hour and a half, preferably closer to an hour. So I figured the best thing was for me to just drink.
Whatever works, man.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Right.
But where do we go from here is that this needs to be, and Christine, maybe you. I mean, I know how you feel about third parties. Obviously, I know how you feel about third parties, but and independence. But it's really time, and this is for all of my GOP friends. By the way, I have hinted at it before. I am officially not a Republican. I will never be a Republican party affiliation ever again. And I need to get a hold of a couple of people here in Minnesota because I need to make some phone calls to talk to party leadership of another party before I say one way or another. But ladies and gentlemen, y'all need to, if you're a Republican and you're sick and tired of losing in Minnesota, but you keep voting Republican, you're crazy. You're crazy. Lacey Johnson stood on the platform at the Republican Party convention as a running mate of Mike Murphy, who, by the way, I believe would have won the election if he would have actually gotten the nomination. I really do think that Mike Murphy could have beat Walz. I think he or Shaw were our only shot because they actually did campaign work in the inner city and had a shot at actually breaking into a stronghold of the Democrats that we could not break with Jensen and Burke. But Lacey Johnson stood on the stage of the convention and told the Republican Party in Minnesota that y'all are crazy because you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again every election cycle, expecting different results, and you keep losing. And it's because you're making the same mistakes every time. Folks, you guys have got to get away from the Republican Party being your political saviors. They're not going to help you. in Minnesota. Other states maybe, but in Minnesota, the Republican Party is the Democrat Party light. That's all it is.
Diet Democrat.
It's diet Democrat. They don't give a damn about you at all. You need to start looking at strong libertarian candidates. I'm going to just tell you that right now. If you are not going forward looking for strong libertarian candidates, and here's the other thing, and you need to start looking at how you're running your school, running people for school board, city council, mayor, and county commissioner. That's where you're going to start making a difference, because we have got to start practicing nullification here in Minnesota and telling the state, giving the state the bird. We're not following your orders anymore. We need to practice nullification.
Well, we need to learn as a collective how things. So I had an interesting conversation with, I would say, a friend or a friendly acquaintance, somebody that I have a lot of respect for in the short time that I've known him. And he said last night, I keep bouncing back and forth between do we try to fix what's broken in the Republican Party, take it over, for lack of a better term, or pull back on the reins and try to fix what's broken because the infrastructure is there? Or do we start fresh? And
we don't need to start fresh in Minnesota.
I am of the opinion that you need to build the infrastructure is crumbled under the Republican Party. There is no infrastructure under there. It would be a failed house inspection. There, you need something else.
Yeah, the basement of the Republican Party in Minnesota needs a lot of tuck pointing right now.
Yeah.
If you don't know what tuck pointing is, you don't have a limestone basement.
I do not have a limestone basement. I'm too far north for that.
But that's the thing, is that we do not need to build a third party from scratch. We don't need a Tea Party. I mean, the Tea Party got co-opted by the Republicans because they were trying.
Tea Party, in my opinion.
I don't disagree on the face that Republican Party, Democrat Party affiliations tend to cause way too much loyalty. And that's exactly where we are right now with the Uniparty. It's Animal Farm all over again. It's that famous last scene of Animal Farm when all of the farm animals go to the house that no one was allowed to be in until the pigs decided they could be in there because they were running things, and we had to make sure we were representing everyone else. And as the animals are all gathered around the back window of the farmhouse in Animal Farm and they're looking from face to face to face, they could not tell a difference between the pigs and the people anymore. And that's what has become of politics in Minnesota. So, yes, there's a reality in which party affiliation can cause nepotistic, sycophantic loyalty to a R or a D, but we still have to have some sort of framework or structure for support. And to be viable as an independent, even, you have to have somebody behind you. And I think in Minnesota, with the Mises resurgence within the Libertarian Party at the national level, I believe the Libertarian Party in the state of Minnesota actually has a really good chance of affecting some change in the state of Minnesota if we can get candidates elected at the local level and getting people behind that. And a candidate here in my town of Spring Valley, who I had on almost 2 weeks ago now. Was it 2 weeks? It was two. Yeah, I got nuked 2 weeks ago today, ladies and gentlemen, off Facebook, and I had my local city council guy, Justin Maliner, on, and he has very strong libertarian leanings, and he won election for city council yesterday.
Good for him.
here in Spring Valley. And that's huge. You don't think for a minute I'm going to try and get him in contact with the Libertarian Party in Minnesota to keep him moving forward? And he's so bent out of shape about even the Spring Valley Code for chickens that he's willing to walk in on his first day in office in January and challenge ordinances within the city. I mean,
that's hilarious because I'm going to do the same thing here where I live, that we can't have any chickens at all. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. We live in a rural town.
yep.
Minneapolis can have chickens. We can have chickens.
Now, he said he was looking at getting chickens, but he chose not to because of the noise. And I'm like, you're a wimp. But
I eat a lot of eggs, and eggs are getting really expensive.
right, exactly. But I believe that where we go from here is not, like, folks, you need to batten the hatches, okay? You need to put your shutters out over your windows, and you need to be prepared for hurricane walls, because this man is going to come out of the gate. He's going to kind of steep in the intoxicating aroma of his victory, and Ellison is going to double down. And my friends, he is coming after dissidents.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at how tyrannical he got with the shutdown. He loved being on camera all the time. He loved telling us, "Oh, you can."
They just needed a wide angle lens every time.
Wider and wider and wider. And so
while Timmy was gaining weight, TC was losing weight. Vote for me for governor. No one wants that.
But
you want to be my campaign manager?
I think that's something that people need to do. Is we need to be more mindful of what is going on in our legislature. And that can be difficult sometimes. That's a large part of what navigating in Northwoods is about, is demystifying some of the bills that are coming through. But, there's only so much that we'll have time to cover. And I wish that, if anything, people would be motivated to consume legislature streams as much as you are interested in consuming your favorite TV show, because that's what's going on in those committee hearings, and what's going on the floor is going to impact your life heavily. We have to watch more than ever. We should be watching all the time, but especially when people who have been elected that are so far ideologically opposed to your values, and they have the majority, they have the trifecta. There's no checks or balances except for the people.
Nullification.
It doesn't even have to be nullification. It has to be people getting in front of the legislation before it even gets passed. And then when you're
I agree with you, Christine. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be in front of the legislation before it gets passed. The problem that we're having now is that the Dems have the House, the Dems have the Senate, the Dems have the Attorney General's office, they have the Auditor's office, they have, and I had Ryan Wilson on, and I really believe Ryan Wilson would have made a phenomenal auditor.
He got
so close. There's got to be a recount.
I almost have to check the metric on what is an automatic recount, because
he was less than 2%, wasn't it?
He was less than 1%, I think.
Then there will be an automatic recount on that.
I want to say it might be 0.5% is the automatic.
Well, even if it's a half, he needs to demand a recount.
Yeah, especially if he has campaign funds left over.
But Ryan would have made a great auditor. But let's just be honest. The Minnesota GOP, by and large, ran lackluster, underperforming candidates for the constitutional offices. Jim Schultz had no courtroom experience at all. And we know, Keith Ellison had lots of courtroom experience, most of it from his private personal life, but that was mean. I didn't even get you to crack a smile on that one.
Sorry, I was doing the math of by how many votes Ryan lost.
But Schultz was a lackluster candidate.
Okay, I'm going to be totally honest here. I didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for Ellison either, so before anybody jumps all over me, I didn't vote for Ellison either.
You loved Keith?
No.
You loved Keith?
I didn't like Jim. I have more trial experience than he does. And that's not an exaggeration.
I've got more trial experience than he does.
That is
I have appeared.
I want to be.
You and I have both appeared in a courtroom more recently than he has.
Yes. Yeah. We have more trial. No, not even more recently. For more time.
Yes.
Time.
Yes.
He has never prosecuted anything ever or litigated anything in a trial ever. So I didn't like that. So I wrote in Doug Wardlow.
It's your fault.
It is. It's my fault that he lost by it wasn't too bad of a margin, but it wasn't a good margin. But no, Ryan Wilson lost by less than 10,000 votes in a 2.3 million vote count. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think Ryan needs to challenge that. I mean, if for no other reason, if we could just get him into the auditor's office, he'd be part of the executive council.
You know what? So. I think that he is at less than 0.5% margin too. So yeah, it might get an automatic recount. Yeah, he's at a 0.35% margin. So that should be an automatic. So
we're looking at this being, in my perspective, it's a blow. I went to, and as I said in my video this morning, I went to bed last night and I slept fine. Like, I know who I voted for. I knew coming into it that we were going to wake up disappointed today. But here's what I really want. And boy, this is probably going to get me in a lot of trouble. I want the dyed in the wool, back the red people, back the Republican people. I want them angry. I want them angry. I want them hurt, but I want them not the kind of angry and hurt that makes them, like take all their toys and go home. I want them to start looking around and saying, why do we never win? Why do we never, why is this happening? Why do we never win? And I want them to own some of the responsibility for it. Folks, you own this. You did this. Because you keep thinking the Republicans can rescue you. And it is time for you to start asking hard questions about the Republican Party. And if you are continuing to be part of the Republican Party, and you and I both have some good friends who may or may not have been on the show last week, who are dyed-in-the-wool Republicans, and I'm hoping, and I love them to death. They know who they are. I'm hoping that they'll take a look at the Libertarians or the Constitutional Party or something, and start taking these local elections. That's where it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you, Christine, that we need to be on the front end of legislation, but being on the front end of the legislation is not going to stop the radical left of the DFL in Minnesota. And we probably need to do a deep dive on the history of the DFL. If people understood the history of the DFL, they would not be DFLers. Like the entire history of the DFL. It's one of the original Marxist parties, like openly Marxist parties in the country.
Right.
But maybe start by saying, okay, great. Let's pay attention to Christine and TC and listen to the legislation and whatnot that they're going to be breaking down, as this the series goes forward. But let's start pulling in some other people. Let's start talking to the Libertarians. Let's start talking to the Constitutional Party people and start running them, as I've been saying for the last few years, running people at the local level where it matters. That's where the decision making happens, and that's where it really matters. All you need, and I don't know if you disagree with me, you could say so, but if you got a good mayor and you've got a good city council and you've got a good county commission and a decent sheriff, state could say, we're going to tell you you have to do this, and they'll just flip them the middle finger and tell them, nope. I see your message. I don't know where your kids get it.
Yeah, I know. I just told them my kids are getting crazy, so I'm probably gonna have to jump soon. But no, I agree. I think that we need to organize. We need to start meeting in the public square, and by that I mean wherever good people can gather in your community. You need to find your like-minded community. And there's been several people who have developed parallel parties, for lack of a better term, in their area as a result of this campaign season and how they were treated by their local GOP establishment. It happened up by Moorhead. It happened in Otter Tail County. And I know it's happened elsewhere, that people are developing parallel party units because their party unit is ineffective for them. And so don't be afraid to do that too. But you get your good people together, you get your good patriots together, and you become educated together. I'll give you a good example. There's a class going on, a political leadership class going on in West Fargo this Saturday. And it starts at like 8:30 in the morning, goes till 5 o'clock. But if you look it up, there's an event on Facebook. It's called the West Fargo, North Dakota Political Leadership Academy. That's what the event is called. So if you look it up, you can get more details there. But get educated in how to organize politically, because the establishment isn't going to give us any tips. They don't want us upsetting their apple cart. And then we need to find people to run in 2024.
Yeah, they don't want strong leaders. They want followers. They want compliant followers.
Yes, they want people who are going to reevaluate their behavior.
Why do I feel like that's stuck in your craw?
Oh man, that's gonna be for a few days. For a few days at least.
Who said that to you?
I think
say names. I don't even care.
No, I don't want to do that because I've already been accused of being threatening with my social media. So I don't want to give out names, but that person knows who that
You've
person is.
Been accused of being threatening with your social media?
On more than one occasion recently.
What have you been doing for the last 2 weeks? Did you go full nuke on them or something?
No. This is all people just being very hyperbolic. But no, I won't out this person. I doubt that they're watching this, but if they are, they know who they are. And it was disappointing because I had a real connection with this person whenever I first met them.
I'm over being nice. I know everybody's like, when were you ever nice?
When were you nice?
It's like you were gonna say it before
I'm not nice. Yeah, I'm not nice either, so it don't bother me.
I'm over the idea that we have to be nice, and I guess I'm actually more tolerant of the left when it comes to disagreement, because I know I'm dealing with someone who disagrees with me. And I would love nothing more for somebody to come on our series together or one of my other, shows or streams who TC and Friends Monday Night Musings. If you're a leftist and you want to come on and you want to talk about our differences, let's do it. And I'll treat you with dignity and respect, but I am over, and have been for quite some time, playing nice with the supposed conservatives because it's not getting us anywhere. It's not doing anything for traditional views and values at all. I mean, you and I have some places where I wouldn't say we're diametrically opposed, but we definitely have some differences philosophically on the root of a few things. But we can get along and work through those. And there is the DFL is great about this. They will not brook any disagreement. You will toe their line. You will toe the DFL line in Minnesota, or you will get nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And the rank and file DFLers know that, and they go along with it. And the Minnesota GOP has taken their marching orders from the DFL, and that's how they've been operating. And so I don't think people realize just how bad it is. And we run into them all the time. You've run into them, I've run into them, and so many of the others, the Nate Millers and the Nathan Wiesenbergs and the Mark Bashofskys and the Walter Hudsons and the Stephen Lowells and the Ashley Klingbeils. We run into these people constantly. You just got to do what the party tells you to do, because they're taking their cues from the DFL because it works for the DFL. The problem is that it's not going to work in a Republican mindset, because it's supposed to be about individualism. The DFL is a collective, and they want people that think that way. And the Republicans are trying to get people to think that way and act that way. And it's just counterintuitive to the mindset of what makes a person want to be a Republican in the first place. Individualism and the freedom to express yourself. What? You're thinking something, I can see it in your face.
No, I'm strategically muting myself so you can't hear my older kid yelling in the background.
I love it. It's great. I love that you're human.
No, I would like to see people, the good people. I've met so many just amazing individuals along this journey over the last 6 months or so. I was somewhat politically active for several years now, mostly like, armchair commentary, but the last 6 months is probably the most politically active I've ever been. And I've met so many great people. And that's where I say I see new infrastructure for a better conservative group than the GOP. My opinion is we don't need that. It's corrupted. It's
not conservative.
It's not conservative. And I don't know I don't know if it was. I wasn't engaged enough with the GOP or the Republican Party of Minnesota enough before to know if it was at one point better than this. All I know is what I've seen for the last few years, and it's not been great.
It's always been more conservative than DFL.
That's kind of a requirement of the name, I think.
But I mean, that's like saying a cold isn't quite as severe as like testicular cancer. Yeah, I said it. I mean, it's just what it is. It's, oh, I have testicular cancer. Well, I have a cold. Oh man, are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
It's like it's,
what an analogy.
Well, it's true. I mean, they're both, they'll make you sick. Just one makes you sick longer. And the other one just strips you of your manhood.
Yeah.
I know. Sorry.
No, you're fine. One thing that people can do as well is if you don't want to get into a situation of political leadership, just go to your city council meetings or go to
local involvement.
Yes, local involvement. You don't have to be a leader, but be involved. Or another thing that I'm hoping to do is, Ashley and I started this D12 news channel on YouTube, and so far all it was used for was a private URL to have our evidence for our Supreme Court case publicly accessible. But we would like to morph it into reporting on local legislative moves that are happening with our city and county commissions in each of the counties in District 12. And so just by geographical location, I've got, one county, Ashley's got another county. We're going to have to find people for the other 4 counties, but you can do that. Just report to people on what's going on. Half the time, there's not even like a secretary for these city or a reporter for these city and county commission meetings. Nobody's reporting on it, so nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, the paper of record just calls and says what happened during the meeting, and then they tell them, and then the paper of record and at this county commission meeting they talked about this, and then they talked about that, and the vote was this, and the vote was that. Very rarely is there a reporter there. And that's the other thing. Yeah, start going to county commission meetings, start going to city council meetings, start going to school board meetings, go to your library commission meetings, folks. I'm serious. People laugh, but here in Minnesota, the alphabet mafia is trying to do in libraries and schools what they're doing in places like California, New York, and others. Start going and record. Get your phones out, all of you, 10, 15 of you, whatever you can round up. You go to these meetings and you record. You don't, and that's the other part of this. Just because you think that the last 2 years are over and we're now in a place where, we are not locked down and the kids are back in the government indoctrination centers, schools, just because they're back and the schools aren't making a mask up and all this other stuff doesn't mean all the other garbage that you hate, that you found out about over the last 2 years because your kids had to be home. So there is a blessing behind all of the coof stuff, was that a lot of you had your eyes open. And the problem is all of you have already freaking forgotten because you got your kids out of your house to go back to school. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that that's everyone's mindset, but if I had a dime over the last 2 years for every single parent that had a kid in the government school system who said, God, I wish they let the kids go back to school. I'm tired of my kids being home. What?
Right.
What does that say about you as a parent? That you're willing to publicly express that you wish the schools would open back up because you're tired of your kids being home. Start paying attention to what your kids are learning. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't be so damn tired of your kids being at home.
And if you think that there's something that your children shouldn't be learning or should be learning that they're not learning in school, maybe take it upon yourself to teach them. The one type of post that drives me nuts when I see it on social media is they should teach X in school.
Why aren't you teaching it at home?
Precisely.
Yeah, and there again, it's happening in Rocks and Cows, Minnesota. All this garbage is happening right underneath your noses, folks. All of it. But how many of you are going to school board meetings? How many of you are going to city council meetings? How many of you are going to the county commission meetings? And that's where we go from here. We go local. She sent me another message, folks. 2 minutes, she says. If she goes, you want to keep going, I wouldn't be offended.
If you want to run this solo because you got more to say, I won't be offended, but my kid is losing her mind.
Which means Dad's real close to losing his.
Yep, and I have to keep the hubby sane.
Let's. I want you here for my little ending rant, and then you can do your own ending rant.
Okay.
This is to all of my friends and viewers and supporters or whatnot, whatever the case might be. People who like the channel, people who are looking forward to our series going forward. All of you Kewakooks, shut up. Shut up. Shut up about the storm. Shut up about trust the plan. Shut up about how everything's going to change. I literally had people reaching out to me today, you telling me two people minimum in just the last 6 hours sent me messages. So-and-so just sent me a message that such and such is happening and the military is taking over the election results. What? So somebody sent me, somebody from Rochester put on a massive email with the link to a Kewakook video claiming that Kamala Harris has been arrested. How many times is that woman going to get arrested since 2020? I swear to God, that she must be using her own bail fund that she set up to free rioters to get herself out. It's ridiculous. These Kewakooks are morons. I'm like, now I don't even care if I lose like 75% of my viewers. You're morons. Because nothing's changed. Tim Walz supposedly got arrested months ago, and the guy who ran for office is a body double, and that he wasn't going to... Literally had people tell me, Tim Walz isn't going to win. He's going to get arrested before the election. Where are we, folks? QAnon, at best, is a moron. Or not, excuse me, QAnon. Q, at best, is a fat, Dorito-eating, Mountain Dew swilling, video game playing jerk sitting in his basement in his underwear while his mom's upstairs making him chicken pot pies and burritos in the microwave, making up a bunch of crap to deceive a bunch of people. That's best case scenario. More than likely, Q is a psyop, like the Truth Plan or the Truth Operation in the Soviet Union. That's more than likely what's going on. And y'all fell for it. And y'all went into this election thinking this was it. Guess what? Fetterman won, folks. Oh, no, Christine's missed 2 minutes tops. I need that in a private message on Twitter. You muted yourself.
Oh, thank you. Whenever you started going off, that immediately came into my head.
It's so bad. Oh, so I got Bob and Sue. But Bob knows this, that you better play it close to the vest with Sue. She's my kindred spirit. I'm coming for Sue, Bob. I'm gonna sweep her away from you, and she's gonna do shows with me too.
You just don't understand, and I can't educate you, dear. Oh my gosh, that's perfect.
It's so true. But I'm done. I'm done with you, Q. If you're a Q person, you should probably go ahead and have yourself committed. If you're an anon, because none of it's panned out.
I've gotten to the point where I feel a lot of empathy for people who, not the people who like propagate the stuff that's very clearly ridiculous, but the people who, because some people are just like, they're still holding on to hope that, something's going to come along. And it's like, no, we are it. I mean, I don't mean like me and TC. I mean, like, people are it. This is what the good people that I've met along the way, that's it. That's what we've got to save the Republic. And if people don't start stepping up, there's not going to be anything left to save pretty soon.
Yeah, it's not me, it's not you. It's a group of us working together in a collectivist sense. I don't mean it as a collectivism the way it normally goes. But so Christine, give me your 30-second synopsis, Christine. What's your 30-second parting thoughts?
My 30-second parting thoughts is that I want people to get educated, get organized, and get motivated. Get out into your community, talk to fellow people who are like-minded, and we need to find good people to run in 2024. Ashley and I are going to be working to build an infrastructure to help people run as independents with no party platform. Basically, our two rules are going to be, you have to believe in term limits and you have to believe in the Constitution. That's it. Beyond that, you choose your campaign messages, and we will help you do whatever it is that you got to do. Get your signatures to get on the ballot as an independent candidate. Help you figure out how to get campaign.
And I will be backing them up on that.
Yes. Yep. So get organized, get educated, get motivated, because nobody else is going to do it for us.
Go rescue your husband.
Thank you. Good night.
I'll close this out. Thank you.
Okay.
Get out of here. Folks, even the red wave across the United States did not come to fruition the way that everybody thought it was going to. Okay. Looks like the Republicans are going to have the House and the Senate. We saw some good, strong wins on the gubernatorial level. But the reality of this, the truth of this is that if you're counting on a Republican win to save the republic, you're crazy. The Republican Party has been in trouble since Abraham Lincoln. I had individuals on Monday night, and one of them took great exception to my comments about Abraham Lincoln. Maybe he'll come back on and we can have a conversation about that. That would be, I think, a fun conversation. But the Republican Party has been in trouble for a long time. It has not been the party of conservatives for 40 years, really, ultimately. And yes, we have to hold our noses in to some degree. And I did a lot of nose holding last night as I voted. But it is time for us to look. It's time for us to really look and to start asking hard questions and to be in your face and bold. You don't have to like it, but the two-party system is killing this republic. And we have got to kill the lackadaisical voting mindset in places like Minnesota and other states. We have to get people involved, and that's only going to happen locally. It's only going to happen locally. I will never, ever, 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 in the foreseeable future, short of a massive change in the Republican Party, ever back a Republican candidate blindly ever again. Ever. You're going to have to earn my trust if you're a Republican. And that's for, and I have friends that are good, strong Republicans. Walter Hudson's probably one of the best, strong, actual conservative Republicans I know, along with Stephen Lowell, Mark Bishofsky, and others. Some others like that. But for the most part, you're going to have to prove your conservative creds to me and basically sign an oath to not abandon your constitutional principles. And I'm not going to back every single libertarian that comes my way because there's some kooks in the Libertarian Party, and I'm damn sure not backing a DFLer. Ultimately, what happened in Minnesota on election night of 2022 is a direct result of the Minnesota GOP leadership failing and men like Scott Jensen and Matt Burke being out of touch, lily white folk who thought that they could do it on the backs of the rural counties because they put really no effort into winning this state. None. Because they didn't want to. It was a grift. And a lot of you fell for it. You have no one to blame but yourselves. I hope it pisses you off enough that you go out and make a difference now. An actual difference. And Warwick said earlier as the show was starting, the GOP is a clown show, but they're the evangelical golden calf, and he's absolutely right. And I'm a reformed evangelical. And I agree with him 100% on that. It's absolutely time for us to take back our republic. And I see the vehicle for that being the Libertarian Party of Minnesota and the Libertarian Party of the United States. Not a member of the Libertarian Party. I don't know that they would have me. I don't know that I can afford the monthly dues. But if they'll talk to me, I'll talk to them. But I'm done with the GOP. Done. I got a really interesting show coming up on Friday night, ladies and gentlemen. I've got a gal coming on who was a victim of, for lack of better terminology, red flag laws. And she's going to come on Friday night, Veterans Day. and she's going to talk about her experience at the hands of the gun control crowd. And her story is very compelling. I'll be sharing a link to that here in the next couple, today or tomorrow. So please, my friends, my supporters, the folks over at the Ardent Sales Group, my friends from Subscribestar, thanks for supporting me. Thanks for helping me keep the internet going. Help me keep the show going. Please share this. Because I do. I want Rocks and Cows Republicans in Minnesota to see this. And I want them to be angry. Because sometimes anger causes change. Causes self-reflection and causes change. So for Christine, my friends, fight for your liberty. It belongs to you. Fight for your freedom. It is yours. And until next time, Sic Semper, Tyrannus.
We are go for liftoff in T-30.
Stand by for further instructions, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment.
Secondary guidance systems engaged.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, it will be on my mark.
All systems are a go. All systems are a go.
Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, you are over the target. You are authorized to fire at